Hello guys, welcome back to the series of tutorials on cybersecurity. I am Deepak Unial, and in this tutorial I am going to talk about virtual machine and networking in virtual machine. So we discussed about virtual machine in the beginning of this course, and now we are going to move a bit ahead of that, and we'll talk about how you can set up networking in virtual machine. So you can look at this window here. We have a Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, and there are two operating systems installed here. One is Kali Linux and another is Windows XP, and I am running this whole system inside Windows 10. And other than this, if we talk about dual boot system, I have Ubuntu running on this system on dual boot. So I have installed all these things and set up here. If you want to know how to set up all those things, you can ask me in the comments. But let's start with this. So Kali Linux is already running here, and to know about the networking, you should go to the settings here. You can see network here, and then there are a lot of options, right? So basically in this tutorial we are going to talk about some of these options. What does that mean? NAT is by default here. Then there is one thing, bridge adapter, internal network, host only adapter, NAT network, generic driver, and so on, right? So we are going to talk about them, but before that I am going to teach you some commands that you should know before learning about the networking. So there is one thing called IP address in a system, and what exactly is that? So when we talk about IP address, I'm basically talking about IPv4 here. It means IP version 4, and it has basically four parts. And what are those four parts? It could have number as minimum as 0 in every box. So this is minimum number, right? And the maximum number it could have 255, right? So some of these addresses are reserved. I am not going to talk much about that, but it means that you could have address like this 0.0.0.0, or maximum address you could have 255, 255, 255, and 255, right? So all the addresses on the internet you will find will have this range only, right? So if we talk about web development, as we are talking in some other section of this whole series of tutorials, so you must have seen one thing, 127.0.0.1, and this is local host address, or you can say home network, right? So when we talk about IP address, this is the thing through which your system is recognized in a network, right? So there are some commands which you can use in the Windows. If you want to check your IP address, you can use this command, ipconfig, and in Linux you have to use ifconfig. So basically these two commands give you similar results. So I will open command prompt here in the window, and now what I will do, I will write ipconfig here, and you can see my IP address here. This is IPv4 address, and here is the address. So let me note it down first so that I don't forget it. It's 192.168.29 and 139. So I will note it down here, right? So this is my IP address. Now I need to check IP address of Linux machine, or here in this case we have Kali Linux that we are using inside VirtualBox. So I will check IP address of that. So I have to use if config here. I will use sudo command. So you don't need to use sudo. You can check it without sudo, and if it works, that's fine. Otherwise, use sudo to run this command. And here is the IP address, 10.0.2.15. Correct? So note it down. You can do it for your system also. So it's a different address, right? So these are two IP addresses for us. So there are basically 4 to 5 kind of networking. that we are going to study here. And first of them is NAT. So NAT is basically network address translation, and it means that your system is shielded from outside. So it means that you can access outside network, but outside network cannot access you. Clear? In other words, you can say that this Windows IP is not able to access this, but it can access the Windows. Clear? So this is NAT, and this is the default setting when you install virtual machine. Clear? So I will show you this using a ping command. So you will be able to ping this address from virtual machine, but you will not be able to ping this Linux IP address from outside. This means you are not able to reach that. Clear? So let's start it. So here is my Windows command prompt. I am trying ping, and let me show you that we can ping google.com from here. And now you can see we are getting some response from the Google. So it's working fine. Now try to access 10.0.2.15, and now it's waiting for the data or response, and request has timed out. So it's not able to access in the machine that is inside that virtual box. Alright, now get inside that virtual box and try to access this IP address 192.168.29.139. So let's ping from here. Let's see if you are able to access internet. And yes, you are able to access internet from here. I will press Ctrl C. Now try to access outside network 192.168. It's my host system, then 29 and 139. If you are able to ping this, it means we are able to access the host system from inside the virtual box. And now it is getting response from that. So it means we are able to access that. Clear? So I hope this becomes clear to you that what NAT means actually. So here you have seen that how can we access host machine from the guest machine when networking is NAT or network address translation, but we cannot access the guest system from the host system, right? But there is a way VirtualBox provides us to access the virtual machines from host or external network, and that thing is called port forwarding, right? So you can use port forwarding and access the virtual machine from the host machine. And how can you do that? Let's go to the virtual machine first. You have to go to the settings, go to the network, go to advanced, then click on port forwarding, and you have to add a rule here. Leave the IP because we want to get connections from all the IPs, and we'll add a port number here. You can add any port number you want, but keep this thing in mind that this port number should not be used somewhere else. And why you are writing 2200 here? Because you want all the connections to this port number to be forwarded to some other port number, and these connections are coming to the host port number 2200, and these are going to be forwarded to 22 port number on the guest port, and this 22 is used for SSH service, right? Now we'll click OK, and after that this rule will be added to the port forwarding rules. Now you have to do one thing, that you have to check whether this service is running in your guest machine or not. So let's move to the Linux terminal now. So run a command systemctl and then status of this service, which is sshd, and you can see this is running. You can use another command, that is netstat -an, then use pipe sign and grep 22. So it will filter out all the lines that have 22 in that. So all these lines have 22 in them, and here you can see one TCP connection is listening on 22 port number. So that is actually SSH connection, right? So let's go to the host machine and use a service called PuTTY to forward connection to this machine. So here is our command prompt which has IP address of local machine. I will use a service PuTTY and put IP address of this host machine which is 127.0.0.1, and this you can use when you are on the host machine, but if you are accessing the system from outside then you have to use this IP address that is given on the right side, 192.168.29.139, and then use the port number that you have decided for the host system, and that is 2200. Now all the requests to this port number will be forwarded to the virtual machine inside. Okay, so let's open it. Now it is asking us for login. I will put my name here. Now it is asking me password, and here you can see Linux root and all those things are here. I will clear it first and see if that system is similar to this or not. So let me run if config command to check if we are seeing the same system or not. You can see IP address here 10.0.2.15 and same IP address is here. It means now we are able to access system inside virtual machine from this system or from outside, and this was all possible due to port forwarding. Clear? So that's how you can access system inside using NAT or port forwarding. Clear? Now move to another part, and that is NAT network. So this is similar to the NAT, but here all the machines in a virtual machine network can talk to each other, right? If the machines are in the same NAT network, they can talk to each other, and that allows you to create an internal NAT network with other virtual machines. But the way outside network is accessed is same as we access in NAT, right? So you can do one thing. You can go to the file, preferences, and in the network, I have already added a NAT network here. If you want to add a new network, you can remove this and add a new network. You can rename this as per your wish and edit all these things also. So here is the NAT network, right? So you can add multiple machines or multiple virtual machines to this network, and these machines can talk to each other if they are in the same NAT network. Clear? So this is about NAT network. Another thing that we have here is bridged network, which you can see in the networking of virtual machine. You have to go to the settings, then go to the network, and here is the bridge adapter. Clear? So how it is different from the NAT or NAT network? It can directly intercept the packets that are coming inside, and it actually creates a new network along with the host network, right? And it can take part in the routing and other networking activities. So how can you do that? You have to make it bridge adapter and just check the IP address of host machine and guest machine now. So just run IP config here, and you can see that now IP address has changed from 10.0 point something to 192.168.29.17. So this IP address has been changed. Now we'll try to access outside network from here and this network from outside. Clear? But first we'll note down this IP address. So now using this bridged adapter, IP address of Linux machine is 192.168.29.17, right? But before this IP address was 10.0.2.15, and now we'll try to access this IP address from outside network. So here we are going to ping 192.168.29.17, and now you can see we are getting some replies, right? So it means now we are able to communicate inside virtual machine, right? And if you want to communicate outside from the virtual machine, you will be still able to do that. So we have to use ping and then this IP address. Let's do that. So I will ping 192.168.29.139 from here, which is IP address of my host machine. So let's start, and you can see that it's able to ping. That means we are able to communicate to the host network, or host machine from the virtual machine in bridge network, right? So let's stop that and begin with another kind of networking, which is internal networking. So I hope you understood about bridge network now. Now let's talk about another network, which is internal network. So this networking can be used to create a different kind of software based network, which is visible to selected virtual machines, but not to the applications running on the host or to the outside world. So what it exactly means? It means that there is a special network that is created to communicate with internal networks, or actually internal virtual machines that are part of a specific network, but neither this virtual machine can communicate to the host, neither host machine can communicate to the virtual machine, right? So how can you set that? We have to go to the virtual machine, go to settings, and then click on the network. Then you have to select internal network from this drop down, and by default all the machines are part of this internal network. You can of course change the name of this network and then click OK, right? Now we'll move to the virtual machine and see its IP address. So I will run sudo if config here, and you can see it is showing some inet 6 address and there is some ethernet address, but there is no other IP address here. But let me ping outside address from here, that was 192.168.29.139, and you can see it is saying that network is unreachable, and that's why it's not able to communicate to the host machine, right? And similarly host machine will not be able to communicate to this network. Clear? The next network is host only network. So it is similar to the previous network, internal network, but in this case a communication with host is possible. So in this case host can communicate with the virtual machine and virtual machine can communicate with the host. So basically this network can be used to create a network containing the host and a set of virtual machines without the need for the host physical network interface. Instead of virtual network interface, similar to a loopback interface is created on the host, and that provides connectivity among virtual machines and the host. So all things that I am telling you here, what you can do, you can go to this page virtualbox.org and then go to the manual. I will paste this link in the description also, and you can see overview of all the networking modes here, right? So you can see there is a mode host only, internal, bridged, NAT and NAT service, all the modes that we have read till now, and then it is telling us the communication, the way it happens. So VM to host communication is possible in host only, bridge, NAT and NAT service. So you have to check for these plus and minus signs. Wherever you are finding the plus signs, it means that communication is possible there. But when you are seeing minus sign, that means this communication is not possible here, right? You can see we have done this in detail, that communication from host to VM was not possible in NAT, but we used it using port forwarding. And similarly in the NAT service you can use port forwarding. Clear? So you can read all these things for detailed descriptions. Now let's talk about settings of this VM, and from the networking you can click on host only adapter, and in this way you will be able to again communicate from host to VM and VM to host. So let's go to the virtual machine and try that again. So sometime your network might not get configured, so you have to restart the virtual machine so that changes can take place and you can do the networking as per the configuration. So let's run this command if config, and you can see IP address is changed a bit, right? We'll try to ping host machine from here, which is ping 192.168, then 29 and 139. So you can see that we are not able to connect host machine from here using the same IP address that we were using before. But what could be the problem? So for that I will take you to the virtual machine settings and show you the reason behind that. So here is the setting of Kali Linux. Go to the network, and here you can see there is a name of adapter, Ethernet adapter, which is VirtualBox host only adapter. So it means we need to check the IP address of this host only adapter. And for that I will open the command prompt in Windows. So here we can check IP config, and here you can see Ethernet adapter VirtualBox host only network, and its IP address is 192.168.56.1. So you have to keep this thing in mind now. So we'll write this first. So host IP address in this case is 192.168.56.1. We can also try accessing the internal network from host machine, but let us check what is the IP address of that. And here you can see the IP address is 192.168.56.101. So note down that also. So the first one is of host machine. So the first one is of host machine and another one is of VM. Let's open command prompt now and try to ping the virtual machine from here, which is 192.168.56 and 0.101. And now you can see we are getting reply from the virtual machine. So it means we are able to communicate from host machine to the virtual machine. Now let's go to the virtual machine and try to do reverse of that, and we'll try to communicate this IP address 192.168.56.1, right? So let's ping the host machine from here, which is 192.168.56.1, and you can see that we are getting reply from there. Clear? So I will stop it now. So till now we have talked about these 5 networking that you can set up inside virtual machine. I hope you would have found this tutorial very interesting. I also found this very interesting while recording this, because it's very interesting thing. How can you set up the networking inside virtual machine? How can you talk to other VMs? How can you access the outside network and so on? So it's basically very important thing that you should understand while setting up the network inside your organization or maybe inside virtual machines. So I think this is going to be very important for you. If you have any doubt or query regarding any of these things, and if you are confused in any of these things, you can write in the comments and we can discuss over there. Right? So if you found this content interesting, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe the channel. All right. Okay, guys. So see you in the next video with some more interesting content. Till then, thank you so much.